Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We're here today with our Friday review, where anything goes on this Friday show. Can't wait to give you all the updates from the week. I hope you've been doing well. It's been a really fun week. I took some time off last week. I certainly want to update you on all of those happenings. Plus, I've got some great research for you, a little bit going into some medications that we want to watch out for, as well as one of those good natural health food products that maybe we could add a little bit more of into our diet. We'll talk about a book review, we'll talk about a food review, and we'll talk about a product review as well. So much going on the show today. That's why I'm glad you could join me here today. Hopefully you've been joining me each and every week on the Cabral Concept. If you're new to the show, you can always go back to stephencabral.com/podcasts, and you're able to go back through all 1,651 previous shows. Today, all the links from today's show, all the show notes, will be at stephencabral.com/1652. So let's dive right into the show. So I always like to start the show with what's been going on over the past 7 days from the last Friday review. And one of the great things about the summertime, at least for me, is I try to take a little bit more time off. That simply means for me, it might be a half day here and there, might be an extended weekend, or it might even be a full week. Now, running the types of, I like to just call them shows, running the types of shows and media and a global-based wellness practice, it's not easy to just totally disconnect. And, I want to be honest with you, I don't totally disconnect. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't, put my phone away. That goes every day of the week, right? So I'm always putting my phone away, especially when I'm home with my family, around my kids, if I'm going for a walk, if I'm meditating, whatever it might be, the phone's away. There's no emails, there's no updates, there's none of those. So I've talked about this before. Actually, I think I just talked about it on this past Monday's show. That was episode 1648, and that was how to live a life of no regrets. So for me, I understand the phase of life that I'm in right now, and I think a lot of other people that run their own companies, that it's tough to say, well, I'm not going to return we use Slack, so I'm not going to return anyone's Slacks, or I'm not going to return an email or a message or whatever it might be. That's just not where I'm at right now. But also, that doesn't stress me out. So the whole thing about kind of removing yourself from your work or whatever it might be, it's because, well, maybe you don't necessarily love what you do, or it might be super stressful or whatever it might be. And believe me, I've had days like that as well. So those are days too. Okay, phone goes off. I'm going to go do something I enjoy, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So that's the nice thing is I can take time when I need to. I can work when I need to, whatever it might be. And the great thing is I truly love what I do. So that's the last week. Took a lot of time off, really enjoyed a lot of family time. We really haven't gone out to dinner as a family for quite some time. We went to a restaurant that had outdoor seating up here in Maine, had a delicious dinner of all local farm food. So basically what this restaurant does, and it's all outside in the woods, it's very, very beautiful, that they go to all the different local farms in southern Maine where I am. And what they do is they say, okay, this place has great asparagus, and they have great fiddleheads, and they have great whatever it might be. And that's how they essentially plan their menu. So absolutely great being able to get out there, take my daughters out, enjoy a meal with my wife and my two girls. So a lot of fun, and really, one thing I've shared with you, and I want to share with you what I'm doing in real life and in the future, and I'll share this in just a second. You'll be able to see more of it because we'll be doing a whole lot more video. But again, I've talked about this on Monday. Last Monday's show was episode 1648. Tuesday's show was on working on your gut. I'm not going to go through all the different shows. Hopefully you've been a part of the show. You know that you can go to stephencabral.com/podcast. Hopefully you're tuning in on a daily basis, really trying to get updates on what is going on in the integrative health-based world. And even if the topic's not for you, something that you'll be able to share with someone, no doubt about it, a coworker, a family member, a loved one, etc., that is dealing with this particular issue, and maybe you can support them in some way. That's really what I believe this human experience is all about. It's really finding a place in life, doing what you love, spending more time with people that you love, and trying to serve in the best way that you can. If you need help, good, ask for it. Don't be afraid to ask. And when someone else needs help, hopefully they look to you, that you might be able to help them with whatever it might be. And there are days, no doubt about it, I get a lot of text messages. I got a lot of direct messages, just even from family, friends, whatever it might be. Hey, my mom has this, or my dad has this, or my kid's dealing with this. And it's like 8 o'clock at night, and I'm just trying to unwind, whatever it might be. But it also comes back to, I get to do this. Like, it's just that different mindset of saying, I get to do this. It can be a lot of work, but I get to be the go-to person for a lot of people. I get this opportunity in life that maybe someone else would want and they're working towards. I have it. Be grateful for it. Don't complain about the work, right? It got you to where you are right now. You're in a good spot. You're enjoying life. You want to move to there. Keep doing those things, right? So, a lot of it comes back to that mindset. And that's why last week when, taking time off, I'm still in it. Like, I'm still trying to live my purpose and my passion and help others as well. And again, and I just hope that, hey, in the future, if I need some help, then maybe that'll come back to me, right? The law of reciprocity. Maybe do good work, put good out there, and hopefully, again, that's what we can hope for, that it comes back to us. And I really do believe that. I think that's a real truth in life. So one of those things, though, again, talking about there's not a lot of free time in this calendar, but I've really made time, at least I would say 3-4 days a week, to the practice of archery. So this is on top of my exercise, my work, family time, all of that, although I'm teaching my 2 daughters to do some archery, although, I'm teaching is a loose term. I'm certainly not an expert. I'm actually going to do a podcast on this. I'm not sure how many people will be, necessarily interested, but I know at least some, because there's a metaphor in here. And I don't do archery for any particular reason. Now, that might sound very strange, and I'm going to expound upon it in a future show. But I do it because of what it does for me. And what it does for me is almost a state of meditation. I'm not good at it if I'm holding my breath, if I'm being tense, if I'm holding the bow too tightly, right? Any one of those things is going to throw me off. And so it's this, essentially, it's great. It's so great for kids. It's this meditative-based practice, this focus, this in the moment. And there's so much more to it. Again, I don't want to go too deep into the show, but the reason why I mentioned it is that last week I actually took a drive north, an hour north of where I am, to this archery shop. And I went there, I talked with the 2 guys who have been lifers, they're probably in their, I would say, early 60s. And they know that I'm new to this. And I bought a bow, and I'm just like really enjoying the process. Part of it is simply dialing in that bow. It's like learning how to use it, moving the sights around, and really getting better. I was so bad in the beginning. And now I can say, again, like, I'm certainly not an expert, but I'm hitting the target, not bullseyes, but I'm hitting the target every time from 45 yards out. That's as far as my property is. And again, like, does that mean anything? No, but I saw where I started. And again, there's a metaphor for this, and I'm trying to teach that to my daughters as well. I was not always, believe it or not, I wasn't even always hitting the target from about 7 yards away when I first started. It's about 15 feet. Like, I was not hitting the target sometimes. And I could, almost run up and touch it from 15 feet, like almost like 2 steps. But still, it wasn't happening because I didn't know what I didn't know. So I'm going to keep it at that for today. I'm actually going to go into this probably on a Mindset and Motivation Monday of what it's taught me. And that's the amazing thing about it. So the other reason why I mentioned this is that anybody can do it. So that's the thing about archery. My youngest daughter, 5 years old, she's doing archery. I've had some of my nieces and nephews up 3 years old. I have a toy bow. They can join in as well. And it doesn't really matter if they hit it or not. We're just having fun. And they're shooting that, and they can obviously do it safety because I have a non-strong tip on top of those arrows. So but you can teach them about safety. So you can teach all of these different things, and really, no matter what your age, you can do it. And it's this really nice practice that I think you can kind of get into and get better and better, even with just 20, 30 minutes a few days a week like I've been doing. So keep it like that. I'm just excited about this process. It's something new for me. It's a way to learn and be a little bit more outside of me with my face in a book all day or research or whatever it might be, reviewing labs. So the last thing after recharging those batteries I want to share with you is that I'm in the middle right now of hiring an entire new team for the StephenCabral.com website. Right now, it's a little bit about me, it's a little bit about the practice, and it's mainly the podcast, which is great. That's really all I want it to be. Is like, hey, direct people over to the daily show. It's completely free. Learn about it and go from there. But what I want to be able to do is introduce people at whatever their level they're ready for, in terms of this whole wellness-based community. Meaning, if you don't know anything about wellness, natural health, that's okay. We have the podcast and we have the Rain Barrel Effect, my book, which is essentially free. Then we're going to kind of walk people up like, hey, this might be the next best step. And we're going to start to do lots of video-based teaching, because a lot of people prefer video sometimes over audio. And I know with audio, you can take it anywhere, you can listen in the car, all of that's great. And sometimes people want to watch video as well. So we'll do both, and we'll have some kind of day in the life, which I really enjoy. I don't know if people will be interested, but I certainly enjoy watching other people outside of necessarily what they do every day, or actually watching how they do it every day. And so we'll be creating some of that, certainly with a lot of lessons, of course, built into that. But that's all coming soon. So I'm building out an amazing team. Remember, one person is not able to do it all alone. I've got amazing, amazing people at equilibriumnutrition.com. I mean, it's unbelievable, but there's probably somewhere like 40, 50 people on our team now and growing all the time. So really great people working behind the scenes. They make all of this happen. A lot of times I feel like I'm just the voice, right? Because it's the team that's making it happen. And so I'm very grateful for every single one of my team members. And if you're listening to this, that includes you. I appreciate you. So let's get into we have a product review, we have a food review, and we have a book review that I want to bring to you before our two research pieces. So the first things first, I've got no way. I haven't always worn an eye mask for sleeping. I almost haven't worn it in many, many years, we'll put it that way. But when I was overseas and traveling and on airplanes and overnight flights, I always wear an eye mask and have always worn an eye mask overseas because, we're not talking about the blackout shades and all of those different things. You don't know where you're sleeping. I have foam earplugs. I have silicone earplugs. I've got an eye mask. Typically, when you see me on an airplane for an overnight flight, it's pretty hilarious. Basically, I have a hooded sweatshirt on. The hood goes over my head. I turn on the blowing thing to get that air circulating around me. I put on my eye mask. I put on my earplugs, and then all of the flight attendants know this person's not interested in any food. They're not interested in any drinks. They're basically checked out. And that's what I do, whether it's I have 5 hours of sleep, 6 hours to sleep, or if it's a flight, let's say, to Europe or wherever overseas. And I've been on 16-hour flights many, many times. And so the way to shorten that flight is to keep your eyes closed for as long as possible. And so I've usually make it a point to keep my eyes closed on a 16-hour flight to Dubai and et cetera for half the flight. I literally keep my eyes closed for 7 to 8 hours. I say to myself, even if you don't sleep, you're going to turn off your nervous system, you're going to turn off your input, and you're going to turn off the sound, and you're going to close the eyes. And so that's what I do. So in the past, I wore a mask. I can't find the exact one. It's so old, right? I mean, the mask is so old. I have no idea what brand it is. But there's one that's similar to it, and it's by Movigel. I don't know the company, and you don't have to get this eye mask. I'm going to link it up at StephenCabral.com/1655. 16552. Today is StephenCabral.com/1652 if you want to head over there for links. But the difference with this mask is the nose piece. So most eye masks for blocking out light, that's what an eye mask is for sleeping, is to block out the light. Now, if you don't have the nose piece, oftentimes the light comes up under the mask. So I had a very lightweight one, almost looked like kind of like a bug. They bumped out around the eyes so that your eyelashes don't necessarily keep touching the eye mask, which is very annoying for anybody that's worn one. So I wore that. It really blocked out the light, super lightweight, really liked that one. I mean, it's well over 10 years old now, and so it's pretty worn out. The elastic band in the back doesn't really work so well. It was adjustable with Velcro, which was really nice. Again, this mask is only about $9 or $10. It's not expensive. But the new one that I got, and it's very, very common, this is like a similar design. This one's by Mzu. And this one's $15.99. Again, you can look at the design. But what it does is it has padding around the eyes, and the eye is pushed out a little bit. So again, your eyelashes aren't touching, but it does not go over the nose. So some people might like one design or the other. I have the one now without the nose one, and I'm using it in Maine because during the summer, we don't have blackout shades up in Maine, and the light is coming in at like 4:35 a.m. And although I'm an early riser, I'm not ready to wake up at 4:35 a.m. because at that time I wouldn't have got my 7.5 hours, right? So what I do is I don't wear it the whole night, but as the sun's starting to rise, actually I'll start to wake maybe a little bit. I'll put that right on, and I go right back to sleep. So that works for me. Some people will wear it all night, totally fine as well. But I just wanted to share that with you. Again, not expensive things, but they've helped out quite a bit, especially if, your spouse, partner, whoever you may share a bed with, keeps those blinds open, or they like to come in the morning. You might want to appease and wear an eye mask instead. Okay, next up, I want to share with you a new nut butter that I've been using. I don't use nut butters often, but I use this one, I would say twice now in the last week. And it's actually quite delicious and hypoallergenic for most people. Here's what it contains. It contains hemp seed butter. So hemp seeds not being a nut, but a seed, as well as Brazil nuts. Now, Brazil nuts are a nut, but it's very uncommon to see a Brazil nut allergy per se. Now, of course, if someone has nut allergies, you'll want to be careful around them. But I'll link up the particular company, but this is a really nice hypoallergenic seed and nut-based nut butter that also provides you with a good amount of selenium and healthy omega-3s, 6s, and 9s. So again, if you're always looking for new nut butters or things to try, maybe put in the smoothie, whatever it might be. I've mentioned some really great ones before. I've tried pretty much everything in terms of all these different unique foods, but pumpkin seed butter is for sure still one of my favorites because pumpkin seeds are one of my favorites. I've tried things like watermelon seed butter, not my favorite. Very, very bitter. They're all those polyphenols kind of hit you in the back of the throat. Not my favorite flavor. I always give you my honest opinion, but this is quite a tasty one. So if you're into more of like that earthy nut butter, which the hemp is going to give you, and the Brazil nuts are not my favorite flavor nut. That is for sure. But that's why when you cut it and you mix it a little bit with the hemp butter, it actually tastes really nice. So if you're someone who's trying to get in a little bit more selenium, maybe for thyroid health, maybe for metabolic health, maybe for the antioxidant protection or a little bit with detoxification, you might want to check it out. And again, I'll link up a particular company that I've used before for some hemp and Brazil nut butter. So you can check that out today. And that is that with that. So the last one I want to share with you is a book that I talked about 2 weeks ago on my Mindset and Motivation Monday. That was on how to reframe your negative thoughts. That was episode 1641. So you could find that at StephenCabral.com/1641. It's a book that I read many, many years ago. And by many, many years, I mean like many years ago. Let's say 15 years ago or more. It's a book by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. It's called PsychoCybernetics. So a lot of people are kind of thrown off by the title, and I totally get it. I was as well. I'm like, what is psycho-cybernetics? It sounds like some type of strange hypno technique or whatever it might be. But Dr. Maxwell Maltz was actually a pretty much world-renowned plastic surgeon. And I shared this story again a couple weeks ago, but the way that he came up with this is that he worked on plastic surgery of the face. People would come in and they would say, I want to look like this person, or I want this look. And they wanted that look because they believed that that would make them happy, right? That would bring happiness. And so he that was his job. And he gave them that particular look, made it happen, made them look, they have the nose, the cheeks, the chin, whatever that they were looking for. But he would do follow-ups with everyone in 3 months and 6 months, etc. And although they now achieved the look that they wanted, they did not have the happiness. It did not come along with the look. And so after many years in clinical practice, he decided to really teach people more about the mind. And PsychoCybernetics, actually, cybernetics is translated from Greek, and it means a helmsman who steers his ship to port, or a helmswoman who steers her ship to port. So what does that mean? Well, it basically means using your mind in order to be more productive in life, to control your body, to be at peace, to be able to achieve the life that you want. It's a really great book. You can get the audio book or the text as it was written many years ago. Just to give you a little tidbit here, people like Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, etc., have used a lot of these same techniques that were talked about from Dr. Maxwell Maltz as well. So a really nice book. You know, it's definitely right up there with one of my favorites, which is The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. I'll link both of those up today at the show notes page. All right, check those out. Really some nice reading if you're looking to work on your overall mind and move forward in life to have a happier, more fulfilled life. All right, 2 research that I want to get to you today. I always bring one that, doesn't have the best undertones in terms of happy and all of that, but we need to know about these things, right? We need to know about them, and here it is. So blood pressure medication may increase risk for breast cancer. So this is put out by Dr. Christopher Lee, and this is where the findings. Women who took calcium channel blockers, which is a blood pressure medication, for 10 years or longer had more than double the risk for breast cancer compared to women who did not take any medications, or did not take these medications. No risk was found for short-term use of the drug less than 10 years, or for any other hypertensive medication in terms of breast cancer risk. So this was by Dr. Lee, epidemiologist specializing in breast cancer, out of the Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle. This was done on over 3,000 women and published in the JAMA Internal Medicine. Again, I will link that up at stephencabral.com/1652. Now, for a little happier note, a little bit of research coming in. This was published in the Journal of Cellular Biochemistry out of the University of L'Aquila. I don't know that that's correct at all, but it's in Italy, and in joint partnership with Temple University. So here's what it says. More good news about cocoa powder or cacao, meaning chocolate. So the polyphenols, which we just kind of mentioned from watermelon seeds, they're also in olive oil and other great things as well. Polyphenols in cocoa may protect against brain conditions such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease by activating the brain-derived neurotrophic factor pathway, which is important for the survival of neurons. So one of the amazing things that I want you to know about your brain is that there are more neurons, or what we'll say connections in the brain, and I just learned this actual stat to say it this way, than there are stars in the galaxy. So think about that. I'm teaching my daughters a little bit about their health. There's a book. Why don't I review it next week for kids on the body? But basically, nice little stat here. There are more neurons. There are more connections in the brain than there are stars in the galaxy. Pretty amazing, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a follow-up podcast, not just on cocoa powder and cacao, chocolate, on being good as an antioxidant with those polyphenols for the brain and for the body, but actually on what's called BDNF. So we'll go over the brain-derived neurotrophic factor on an upcoming podcast over the next couple weeks. Stay tuned for that, what it is and how you can enhance it so that you can work on now Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, etc., right? Using our body's ability to regulate dopamine, serotonin, antioxidants, blood-brain barrier toxins, etc. So check that out. I will link up, of course, all the research today. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. Love these Friday shows. Thank you so much, of course, for being a part of the community and for tuning in. And if the show is ever helpful, please do feel free to share this show with anyone anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone, and I'll talk with you tomorrow on our weekend Cabral House Calls. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.